Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 8th episode of Truth Tracker, a podcast dedicated to combating misinformation within the political scene within the United States of America. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this week's episode on artificial intelligence. So, before we get into this week's episode, I just want to first thank everyone for tuning in. It definitely means a lot. I also want to thank everyone for supporting the channel as we've been getting going over the past couple months. I really appreciate everyone's support. If you haven't already done so, make sure to first off subscribe to the channel, like this podcast if you're enjoying it so far, as well as to turn on post notifications when you subscribe to the channel. That way you will be notified of any episode that we release in the future. And yeah, with that being said, let's get into an overview of what this episode's going to be about. So this episode's going to be run pretty similar to the way we've been doing the last couple episodes. We're going to be busting 10 myths regarding artificial intelligence, as it is a very new topic that's beginning to be a very influential topic within the political scene of the United States of America. And then we're going to have our weekly segment on civic engagements and why that is important for us. And so, with that being said, let's just get straight into it and bust 10 myths regarding artificial intelligence as well as promote civic engagement. So, our first myth is that AI can think like a human. Now, AI does not possess human-like reasoning or emotions, as it actually is sort of just a computer algorithm that processes data and identifies patterns. Because most AI systems operate based on algorithms that process vast amounts of data from the internet to find patterns and make predictions. And this is unlike humans who use, intuition, experience, as well as different forms of different forms of intelligence, one being emotional intelligence, to make decisions. Simply put, AI lacks, the consciousness and the awareness, and the self-awareness that makes humans human. For instance, while maybe an AI can simulate a conversation, it does so without sort of understanding the context or the emotional aspect and the meaning behind the words. And this sort of key fundamental difference means that AI's thinking is purely sort of computational and not really cognitive like a human. And you can see how, because AI is sort of it has its foundings from a computer algorithm and simply gains its sort of knowledge from computer algorithms and data from the internet. It fails to think like a human, as it lacks the sort of emotional understanding and the nuances that we have as humans. And we got this information from the MIT Technology Review, which is a very credible resource regarding technology topics like AI. And so therefore, at the end of the day, this myth that AI can think like a human is simply not true, as AI does not possess any sort of human-like reasoning or emotions, as it simply just processes data and identifies patterns from algorithms. Our next myth is that AI will replace all human jobs. Now, while AI can automate certain tasks, it actually, in many industries, often complements human work rather than completely replace it. As we can look into history, automation has historically led to sort of changes in the job market, but it typically enhances productivity and creates new job categories rather than completely eliminate all existing human ones for humans. For example, if you take a look at the sector of manufacturing, for example, AI may handle sort of these repetitive and monotone tasks, which allow human workers to focus on more complex roles that require critical thinking and creativity and certain human traits that are unreplaceable by AI. Additionally, sectors like, healthcare and education and business will still need human oversight for sort of decision making and emotional support, which sort of underscores the importance of a collaboration between humans and artificial intelligence. But this sort of idea that it's going to replace every human job is simply not true, as it'll at most just complement human work rather than replace it. So at the end of the day, this myth that AI will replace all human jobs is simply not true. Our next myth is that AI is infallible and objective. Now, AI systems can sort of inherit these sort of biases from their training data and algorithms and the sort of data that they are studying on the internet, which can actually lead to some flawed outcomes and wrong conclusions and misinformation that's generated by AI. Because AI is actually only as good as the data that it is trained on. And so, if the training data is any way flawed or reflects any biases, these sort of miscalculations can manifest themselves in the conclusions that AI creates. So this reality sort of emphasizes the careful need for careful data selection to create AI and support AI. Furthermore, it also reflects the need for ongoing monitoring and fairness frameworks actually to mitigate biases in AI applications because at the end of the day, AI is based off of algorithms and information based off the internet, and not all information on the internet is correct. And so, at the end of the day, due to this sort of information, AI is this myth that AI is sort of infallible and objective is simply not true, as their AI has the ability to produce many flaws as well and misconclusions. And we got this information from the Harvard Business Review. So this is another, very, as well as the World Economic Forum. So this is again these are two very reputable sources that should be well trusted as well. So yeah, this myth is not true. Our next myth is that all AI is super intelligent. Now, most AI today is actually very, very narrow and very rudimentary, designed for very specific tasks rather than general or these sort of super intelligent AI that's or this picture of super intelligent AI that's conjured up by movies, for example. This sort of rudimentary AI are simply just systems that excel at specific tasks such as language translation, image recognition, data collection, or just playing simple games like chess. These systems can outperform their humans in certain designated areas, but they sort of lack the flexibility and the versatility, as well as the general understanding that can characterize human intelligence. Furthermore, these types of AI, or sort of the super intelligent AI that can perform, any intellectual task that a human can, is not even developed yet and remains very theoretical and is actually the subject of ongoing research by scientists. And so this sort of misconception that all AI is super intelligent often arises from these sort of media portrayals or these sensationalized media portrayals rather than a clear understanding on its current capabilities. As currently AI is not super intelligent, is actually very rudimentary. So at the end of the day, this myth is not true, and we got all this information from the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. And so at the end of the day, this myth is not true. Current AI is not super intelligent. Our next myth is that AI can make decisions independently. Now, this kind of ties into a previous myth, as AI systems do not make autonomous decisions. They simply just follow, instructions that have been given to them, or these learned patterns that they have developed from the media or from the internet, for example, that they've consumed through various algorithms. As an AI operates within a framework set by human designers, and it doesn't have the ability to make these sort of independent ethical or moral decisions, as all the information that is creating AI comes from a different source. And so the sort of idea that it can make decisions independently is simply not true, as all of its conclusions and decisions and information that it produces come from a different source. And so the responsibility for decision making within AI still lies with humans, who must interpret AI outputs and apply their judgment accordingly. And so this information is simply not true. AI cannot make decisions independently. It's not even at that sort of step technologically, and is just not currently true, as all the information that's being fed into it comes from another source, and which causes it to be unable to make its own decisions. And we get this information from Forbes as well, so another very reputable organization that really portrays accurate information regarding the topic of AI. And so that at the end of the day, this myth is not true. AI cannot make decisions independently. Our next myth is that AI is a threat to humanity. Now, it is true there are very legitimate concerns about the misuse of AI, but the idea that AI inherently poses this sort of existential threat to humanity is often largely exaggerated and portrayed by various sensationalized media portrayals. Now, fears of AI taking over often sort of stem from these fictional narratives rather than these grounded realities. Current AI is actually very rudimentary, it's not autonomous, and they operate under human supervision and are limited to specific functions. And so the focus should not be just sort of denying AI and believing that it should just be buried under the ground as a threat to humanity. As if we must recognize that it's a growing field and that it's not going to go away. We must learn to adapt with it. And so the focus should be sort of developing these ethical guidelines and governance frameworks and policies and initiatives to address potential misuses such as surveillance or maybe bad decision making or job displacement, rather than sort of growing existential fear regarding AI as a threat to humanity. And so, even though there are legitimate concerns about AI, this side of idea that it poses a threat to humanity is simply not true, as current AI is very rudimentary and very basic. And so this myth is not true, and we got this information from the World Economic Forum. So again, another previous or very reputable organization that we have used to bust previous myths. And so this myth is not true. AI is not a threat to humanity. Our next myth is that AI understands language like humans. Now, AI processes language through these sort of statistical models and pattern recognition rather than true understanding. There are various algorithms. It is true that there are various algorithms that have a lot of AI to sort of analyze, interpret, and generate text based on statistical correlations in the data it was trained on. However, our current AI still fails to sort of grasp the nuances of language, such as sarcasm or maybe context or idioms that humans can tend to pick up on. For example, we tend to understand various nuances such as ambiguity, but AI fails to do that. Understanding human language involves more than just recognizing patterns or deciphering algorithms or consuming data. It requires this sort of contextual awareness as well as emotional intelligence, which AI simply lacks currently. And so at the end of the day, this myth is not true. AI does not understand language like humans, and we got this information from the MIT Technology Review. And so yeah, because AI can process language through just statistical models and pattern recognition rather than this sort of true human understanding, it fails to pick up on the nuances of human language, and so therefore, this myth is not true. AI does not understand language like humans. Our next myth is that AI can predict the future with high accuracy. Now, AI can analyze, trends and make predictions in the future, but its forecasts are first of all very probabilistic, sorry, and are subject to tons of uncertainty because AI models are actually reliant on past data to sort of identify trends and make predictions. However, the unpredictability of these real world events can significantly affect outcomes. And because AI isn't trained on, or AI is simply only trained on the past and data that's only been generated before, it fails to sort of take this data and apply it to the future, like humans can. And so therefore, these AI's predictive capabilities are based on probabilities and should be understood as one of the many details of decision making, or one of the tools for decision making, rather than a sort of definitive marker for decision making. And so this sort of idea that it can predict the future with a high accuracy is simply not true, as the technology regarding AI is still very rudimentary and very basic, and AI is still consuming data from the past. And so this myth is not true. AI cannot predict the future with high accuracy. Oh, sorry about that. Our next myth is that AI will become sentient. Now, sentient means sort of alive and self-aware. Now, current AI lacks this sort of consciousness and self-awareness that makes something sentient. It operates purely based on algorithms. because in order to sort of understand this idea of or AI becoming sentient, we must define what sentience is first. Sentience is the idea that implies awareness, emotions, and subjective experiences which are qualities that AI does not possess. Because even though AI can simulate, certain human-like behaviors, these are just very limited, or they're first off very these are mere imitations, which are based on programming, data patterns, and computational algorithms, and is not first off and fails to advance AI to a point for being consciousness and emotionally aware. The idea that AI is sentient now often stems from cultural depictions rather than scientific understanding, which leads to misconceptions about the current state of the capabilities and limitations of AI technologies. At the end of the day, this myth is not true. AI is not sentient, or AI will not become sentient because it lacks consciousness and self awareness. And we got this information from the Scientific American Journal. Now, the next myth is that AI will solve all of our problems as humans. Now, while AI does have the sort of idea, or has the potential to address many of challenges that humans face, it's not this sort of tool that can solve systemic issues alone. AI has many benefits such as enhancing efficiencies, improving decision making processes, and providing valuable insights in this very efficient and fast manner from across various sort of industries such as healthcare, the economy, housing, and various sectors like that. However, it is not a standalone solution. There's very complex issues such as poverty, climate change, and healthcare access that, require comprehensive approaches that combine technology as with policy changes, community involvement, as well as ethical considerations. And this sort of notion that AI can solve all of its problems by itself is simply not true, as the technology to do that is not currently where it's at right now. Relying solely on AI at this point can overlook the nuances and the human elements that have been essential to solving these problems in the past. And so therefore, because of the current state of AI and where the technology is right now and what it currently is, this myth that it can solve all of our problems is simply not true. And we got this information from the Harvard Business Review. And so you can see this sort of pattern with a very topic that has a lot of misinformation currently in the political media of America, such as artificial intelligence, right? But the way we've been able to sort of debunk this misinformation is by using very credible and reputable sources, such as the Harvard Business Review, the MIT Technology Review, Forbes, and sources like that are very reputable and very that are all around very strong sources that have been known to be accurate and not sort of media sensationalist, and they produce accurate and fact checkable information. And so at the end of the day, this is super important for everyone to do, is when you're researching topics that have a lot of misinformation like AI, it's very important to cross check your sources and make sure you are consuming accurate and verifiable information, and make sure to check multiple sources to make sure that your data that you're consuming is correct. And so, yeah, to wrap this misinformation segment up for today, this myth that AI can sort of solve all of our problems is simply not true. And now we get into this week's civic engagement segment. So, as we get closer to the 2024 election, it becomes, again, critical that everyone votes, no matter what your political beliefs are, whichever candidates you support in the election. That's sort of our duty as Americans to vote and really make sure that we are holding political leaders accountable, and we are voting, and we are making sure that we're creating a new America, one for where everyone can, thrive and prosper. And so that's super important for us as Americans to get out there and vote in order to achieve that objective. Furthermore, and also voting allows us to sort of get policies and the ideas that we want regarding issues such as AI, which was the focus for today's episode, into the mainstream political sphere of the United States of America. And it allows us to make sure that our voice and our wishes and our dreams for America are being held by our elected leaders in office currently. And so at the end of the day, this myth sort of, or sorry, this idea that there's voter apathy needs to be addressed within America because, we can't have voter apathy. We all need to be engaged. We all need to be civically engaged and politically engaged, and making sure that we're constantly reaching out and being involved in our community and voting it, because that's super important and is one of the great ways that we can create change. So many people in our country's history have sacrificed their lives for our right to vote, and it's our duty that we honor them and make sure that we vote and we get out there and vote, because it's super critical and it's super important that we use voting as a tool to make sure that we generate the kind of America that we all want to live in, and hold our elected officials accountable, as well as fight for the change that we want. And so, if you're passionate about a topic like AI and want to see certain policies or initiatives around it, please make sure to get out there and vote. Your voice matters, and you should be voting. Furthermore, it's super important that everyone gets out and is super engaged, no matter what your political beliefs are. It doesn't matter what your political beliefs matter, or it doesn't matter what your political beliefs are. They do not matter whatsoever. They don't matter. The biggest thing is that you're getting out there and vote. It doesn't matter what you believe in. Just get out there and vote and make sure that whatever you believe in is being heard, because that's the true power of voting, is allowing your beliefs to be held. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you vote for. It matters that you get out there and you vote and make sure that your voice is heard in the direction of in your sort of belief for where you want the direction of America to be heading. And so, with that being said, thank you everyone for tuning into this week's episode. I really appreciate it. If you have enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications so you will be notified of any time we post a new episode, or we post our weekly episodes. And make sure to like this episode if you have been enjoying it. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Today we busted 10 myths regarding AI, as well as promoted civic engagement. I really appreciate everyone that tuned in. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for watching this episode, and have a great day.